Namandab, 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 snamandab, snamandab, snamandab.
Good morning, everyone. Is this working? Thank you for attending this morning's service. It's a great day. Let me first thank everyone who's helping to make this service possible. Alan Godo for tech services, Kathy Mikuni, who's going to give us a little assistance with the Shotsuki names this morning, Howard, of course, for substituting and coming in to play the organ, and of course Kyoko, who always does a beautiful job with the flowers and arranging the altar. Before we start, I want to just introduce you to our guest speaker today. We're very lucky to have J.P. DeGuzman. He is currently a minister's assistant at the San Fernando Valley Hongwanji Buddhist Temple. He received his Tokudo in 2023. He teaches history and ethnic studies at Windward School and UCLA, where he's also earned the university's Distinguished Teaching Award. He's a published author, a historian of 20th century America with a focus on urban history, Asian American history, and very, very much an expert on Los Angeles. And also, in case you didn't look at his LinkedIn, he's a die-hard Bruin. So I don't see Jerry and a couple of other SC people here, so few. At this time, will you please rise for a reflective reading? Each life exists in the eternal now. Each idea that is thought, each word that is spoken, each action that is taken changes the whole pattern of the universe. For the universe is interdependent. Think, speak, and act then always in the eternal now, with compassion and understanding for your own enlightenment and for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. At this time, I'm going to ask Kathy Mikuni to come up and read the names of this month's Shotsuki Hoyo.
For the March Shotsuki service, we are honoring Arai Shiano, Doi Douglas Michitsura, Doi Eiji, Doi Aoi, Fujimoto Masako, Fujikawa Dean, Fujitaki Isamu, Fujitaki Motohiko, Fukumoto Hatsuguri, Furamoto Yuriko Lily, Hatakeyama Mineto, Hayes Rich Stephen, Hirakawa Hisano, Hiramoto Fujie, Hirata San, Hirayasu Najiro, Hirota Reverend Tetsunen, Honda Shin, Hori Rennosuke, Ige Saburo, Inuma Chiyoko, Ito Ben, Iwahashi Mitsuzo, Kamoto Ichino, Kato Mitsu, Kato Seiichi, Kawahara Musaku, Kawahara Okame, 川村彩一、川本宮、木下 Ronald H、桐山武俊、小西明夫、小西綾乃、久保誠二郎、倉岡作一、倉下茂、倉本リリーゆり子、倉田つゆ、桑原脇、松本けめいち、三田段純三、宮下久野、森本糸、森本桃代、森岡千代美、森岡菊池、長澤不与、永田俊恵、内藤よし子、西清子、西田丈一、西本木野、西本正一、西本雅子、小川千代子、大竹虎尾、大谷和一、600田悟城、坂本春一、笹本滝子、正規亀代、重石太代子、重野初太郎、菅沢原松、杉山時地、砂入上吉、高橋俊夫、武田清、竹森アイリーン、竹森テリー、竹中時江、竹之内真一、田村久子、田辺正夫、手島東吉、富樫明、豊中田五所崎勝野、友谷秀治、若狭喜平、山田初太郎、山口 Reverend Ken、Mary 山中、山根千恵子、山根勝太郎、山根茂雄、山根忠夫、山崎空右衛門、山崎マス、山崎光代、山崎義正、山崎弥生、横山郁恵、裕尻久。はい。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。
Thank you, Kathy. Now we'll have sutra chanting, Sambutsuge on page 33, and will be led by Sensei DeGuzman.
Say る実法開門精進三昧知恵意徳無量主生慶人体善念諸仏法界愚人寺の苦語外体無明欲ぬ世尊読む人の死死人徳無量苦訓古代知恵人妙公もいそ神道大戦願が差仏在所法可動生じ未不下脱不正上位解任精進如是三昧知恵以上五世特仏不行志願二切苦苦一切大安決し有仏百千億万無量大小修行語者供養一切使徒諸仏不尿愚道見性不逆異尿語者諸仏世界無不影無種鮮度光明師匠変死諸国如是精進二人難行如が差仏国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国如内音二無闘争がと愛民道達二切実法大小信念症状意図学国慶楽阿難古仏神妙座が心象本願の日二期少々欲実法世尊知恵無下上領子孫知が信行軽量心死食毒中が行精 jin ninju fuken namandabu 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 Gannishi kudoku myodo seisai no hoten bodai shin ojo Namandabs, 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 namandabs.
Will the Sangha please rise for Gatha Namo Amida Butsu on page 136? And that's going to be followed by the three treasures led by Sensei on page 10.
Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namandabs, Namandabs. The three treasures. How rare and wondrous it is to have been born into human life, and now I live it. How rare and wondrous it is to be able to listen to the Buddha Dharma, and now I'm able to hear it. If I do not transcend the world of the illusion in this life, when will I ever attain spiritual liberation? May I, along with the entire Sangha, with sincere heart and mind, rely on that which can be truly relied on in life, the three treasures. I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the great path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration, which is to become a Buddha. I rely on the Dharma. May I, along with sentient beings, deeply reflect on the meaning of the sutras and gain wisdom that is as deep and vast as the ocean. I rely on the Sangha. May I, along with all sentient beings, become one Sangha of life, able to move forward and live with a dynamic spirit that is hindered by nothing. The unsurpassed, deep, and wondrous Dharma, even in millions of kalpas, is extremely difficult to encounter. But now I am able to experience and embrace it. May I come to understand and revere the true meaning of the Tathagata. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Nam.
We are very fortunate, as I mentioned earlier, to have Reverend DeGuzman with us this morning and to deliver the Sangha message, the Dharma message to us this morning. I think we're all pretty impressed, I think, with his credentials, and if you've done a little reading on him, as I did last night, was really trying to find something that made him human, because such a young guy and so accomplished and a scholar and a teacher and everything else. So I found something. He's addicted to White Lotus. And if you don't know White Lotus, it's a very juicy HBO series. So we're looking forward to hear the connection between Buddhism and White Lotus.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you here today. Truly, it is such a special reason for me to be here. As we heard earlier, I received what's called Tokudo ordination in December 2023, and I am just profoundly grateful to be able to have the opportunity to share my deep appreciation, my humble understanding of the Dharma with all of you. And don't be impressed by that biography, because you could say whatever you want online. And also, yes, I am an almost lifelong Bruin, but I can never say anything ill about USC, because my mom was a nurse at Kenneth Norris Cancer Research Hospital for almost 30 years. So USC paid for my life. USC paid for UCLA, so fight on. Anyway, again, I want to thank all of you so much for the opportunity to be with all of you. I'm very grateful for Gibbs Sensei, Gibbs-san for welcoming me so well. Alan is the tech wizard. You know, I love San Fernando so much. That is my home temple. I will go to my death, right, on the hill of San Fernando Valley Hongwanji Buddhist Temple. But I was just amazed when I walked in and saw a whole, tech setup and everything. Wow, you all are so lucky, because we just have one really scrappy guy with his camcorder and a scrappy science teacher with access to Zoom. And they get the job done. They so get the job done, but that is very impressive, so thank you so much. Thank you so much to Kathy and for welcoming me, and Shelley for being the chair. My karmic connections to your Sangha, I'd like to think, run a little bit deep, even though this is my first time being here. I've been on the BCA Archives Committee for 6 years, I think. And so I met Donna and, of course, the late Lynn Ozawa there, both of whom were so kind and welcoming to me, and really, through their example, showed me the importance of preserving the histories of all of our Sanghas, all of our temples. You know, I had the pleasure of having some tea earlier in the office building and just being, swept away seeing all the beautiful panoramic photos of your Sangha over the years. And even though, to be 100% honest, we have the exact same ones at San Fernando, and there's the exact same ones at Nishi and the exact same ones at Higashi, every single one of those photos has such a beautiful story. And I think since we are here reflecting on all of our loved ones and collective ancestors who passed away in the month of March, seeing those had extra special meaning, thinking about seeing all those individuals who made it so I could be here with all of you, who made it so you could be here with all of us together. So that is my Dharma talk. Bye-bye. I'll see you whenever. You know, some Sanghas love that joke, and other Sanghas are like, yeah, that was a little long. You should go away now. So you hear them tearing up the ore and everything. Okay, so if we could, Alan, go to the next slide. Why don't we actually, since it doesn't appear we have any Dharma school kids, why don't we go to the slide that begins with pure light, joyful light. So we'll skip through that. This is for the Dharma school kids. You would have loved it. It was great. Or not, I don't know. So we'll pass that one. I'll send you the slide deck. Because Joni and I, we got to go to the San Fernando Valley Meiji Club installation after this, so chop chop. And of course the chop chop is directed at me, not you. So. Perfect. And I think we'll go to the next slide. Perfect. Okay. So everyone, as we know, we're here, as I alluded to earlier, remembering all of our ancestors, both the people whose names Kathy read, but also anyone that we hold dear who passed away in the month of March, and truly any of our deceased loved ones. So if you'll join me in reflecting on these words from the Shoshinge by Shinran Shonin, the founder of our school of Buddhism. Shinran-sama writes, pure light, joyful light, the light of wisdom, light constant, inconceivable, light beyond speaking, light surpassing sun and moon is sent forth, illuminating countless worlds. The multitudes of beings all receive this radiance. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. So friends, I know that we are here talking about the difficulty, right, of saying farewell to the physical form of loved ones, but also taking moments to reflect, hopefully with joy and gratitude, on the lives that they lived and the lives that enable all of us to be here. So to take things in a slightly different direction, I do, as we heard, I love the White Lotus. I'm just counting down the hours until the next episode drops tonight. And I do like a lot of pop culture. So today's Dharma talk, Alan, if we could go to the next slide, please, is entitled The Dharma of Stay With Me. So this was a song released by a Japanese pop singer named Miki Matsubara, who lived from 1959 to 2004. And has anyone ever heard of this song? It's called Stay With Me. One person has, wonderful. So Alan, could we go to the next slide and play maybe just like the first few seconds of it?
To you is my love to you. Is my love to you.
It's a beautiful song. We're going to listen to a little bit more of it. But I saw at least one hand who heard this song. And so if you don't know the history of this song, it's a really, really fun song. It's very upbeat. I really like it. I blast it in the car all the time. And I live in North Hollywood but work in West LA, so I'm in the car a lot. So there's lots of time to listen to this song. And this was released in 1979. When Miki Matsubara was only 21 years old. She became a pop star at the age of 21, right? I couldn't even match my socks when I was 21, so that's amazing. And if I understand the history correctly, she was actually only 19 when she recorded it, so that's kind of impressive. The composer of the song was a renowned musician named Tetsuji Hayashi, who sought to synthesize lots of different musical genres. He wanted to synthesize some American influences with the Japanese pop music scene. And he recalled in an interview in the Japan Times, the newspaper, the Japan Times, quote, "I didn't expect her to have a very mature voice, much more than her actual age, but it was jazzy." I think we could all agree on that. And over time, Stay With Me became synonymous with this really fun genre of music known as city pop, which one music journalist defines as a loosely defined Japanese genre with R&B and jazz influences from the 70s well into the 80s. And spoiler alert, I don't speak Japanese yet. Maybe one day I'll learn. But something about this song really called to me. I was like, oh, I really, really like this song. And even though Matsubara released several other hits, Stay With Me was her most iconic song, most well-known song. And curiously, even though this song came out, in 1979, it actually witnessed a resurgence online during the pandemic. In 2020, 2021, it hit a whole new generation of young people. And it really sparked this interest in city pop among really, really young millennials and Gen Z people. And you heard it a lot on Instagram videos or what are called reels. You heard them a lot in TikTok videos or reels. And if you go to YouTube, if you go to Spotify, all of these songs have, this really fun, dreamy aesthetic and has been very, very popular. And these songs it's actually a very cute phenomenon. If you go to YouTube or TikTok and look up Stay With Me, you'll actually find this really adorable phenomenon where young kids who are maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, they will just go into the kitchen where their mom is making dinner or whatever, their mom who was maybe born in Japan, and they won't say anything, and they'll just start playing this song, they'll start playing Stay With Me, and record what their mom's reaction is. So if we could take a look at that, we'll see that in this clip. So if you go online, as I said, there's several of these videos, and they're really, really heartwarming. It got me thinking, what was it about this song that captivated a whole generation of people? What is it about this song that captivated the younger generation that actively really liked this song? And so I wanted to dive in, dig in a little bit, and I learned that even though the song is very happy and peppy, the song itself actually has a little tinge of sadness to it. So why don't we take a look at the next video, which will have some of the English translation. I was just like, sitting in the 405 thinking, oh, I'm feeling good listening to this song. But actually, it's a song ostensibly, right, about a breakup, about the end of a relationship, despite the fun, upbeat tone of it. And even though ostensibly the song is about a breakup, right, and the song is titled Stay With Me, I was thinking about it more seriously, especially knowing that I was going to be talking about remembering loved ones. Nowhere, if we think about it, at no point in the song is it clear that the person Mickey is singing to is actually alive. Right? And so that got me thinking, right? At no point is it clear that Mickey is imploring the person to stay with her is someone who's living. And it made me think, the more I read the English lyrics further and listened to the song more and more, I started to think that to an extent, she might be singing to a loved one who has passed away. She might be singing to a dear departed one who has died. And in doing so, she might actually be revealing a lot about the paradoxes of how we deal with grief. Just like a breakup, the death of a loved one clarifies for us a lot of our teachings around impermanence, around the suffering that really arises from our understandable difficulty and sadness when it feels like we have to let go. And so, if we take a look here, one line that she repeats over and over is knocking on midnight's door, begging you not to go home. And I'm sure that even though we may logically know that a loved one's time on this earthly realm may be coming to a close, or that they may indeed be knocking on midnight's door, we of course beg them not to go. That's the human condition. We hold on to those that we love. And when they do go, oftentimes what happens in our mind is that we freeze our relationship with that person in time. When our loved ones pass away, we freeze them in time thinking they only existed as I remember them sitting next to me on the couch, sitting across from me at the dining room table, driving with me to go to the store. And so we see that in the next lyric, in the next slide, that goes, you in your gray jacket with that familiar coffee stain, just as you always are. Right? She's kind of freezing this loved one in just one single image, in the gray jacket with that familiar coffee stain, just as they always are. She goes on to sing in the next lyric, saying our favorite words, holding on to our little moment. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And of course, we hold on dearly to the images and memories or favorite words or little moments of our deceased loved ones for comfort. That's totally understandable. I close my eyes, and even though I am turning 42 this year and have high blood pressure and gout and I'm pre-diabetic and I have lower back pain, I still remember what it felt like to curl up in my grandmother's lap. But sometimes, by freezing our loved ones in place, by only thinking about their gray jacket with the familiar coffee stain, just as they always were, sometimes this actually might have what I'd like to think as the unintentional consequences of causing us even more suffering. What do I mean by that? So when we, again, hold on to our loved one just as that one single image, by thinking of our relationship like that, of course, we think of our relationship as over. I'm never going to be able to crawl into my grandma's lap again, and I probably would crush her, right? I'll never see other loved ones. I think about the wonderful members of my Sangha, right? I'll never walk into the social hall and see certain BWA ladies holding court, right? But my relationship isn't just with those individuals. Recently, to clarify this, my wife and I, we had dinner with a very good friend of ours. And this friend is a complete sweetheart. We love this friend. And it was so tragic because this friend's father died very, very curiously. He went out on a bike ride, fit as a fiddle, prime in his life. And a good Samaritan found him on the trail, brought him to the hospital, and he was in a coma. And to this day, we still do not know whatever actually happened to him. And sadly, he passed away and was reborn in the Pure Land. But our friend, in sharing this story, also reminded us of some deep wisdom from one of our senseis, Reverend Patty Usuki, who texted me last night to send all of you her warm wishes. She misses all of you as her Dharma friends. But Reverend Patty, to comfort our friend, reminded our friend that our relationships with our deceased loved ones do not end at their death. They don't. Our relationship with our deceased loved ones does not end at their death. You know, I think about, as I mentioned earlier, my relationship with my grandmothers as a child. When I was a child, I turned to them for basic things, for lunch, for dinner, to pick me up from school, to help me with my multiplication tables. But I think about it now, and as an adult, I still have a relationship with them, and I still turn to them. I turn to them and feel a newfound respect for thinking about the ways in which they lived their lives as women in a difficult time period, as immigrants, as women who were rebuilding lives after World War II. And so even though we see a lot in this song of how we respond to a breakup, but also how we respond to the grief of losing someone, we also see some important hope. Because part of the beauty of Stay With Me is that it gets at our capacity to recognize the sources of our suffering and pull ourselves away from them. So in another line, in the next slide, Mickey says, "Distracted by my loneliness, the needle on my record player was stuck on a repeating melody." And in this sense, I'd like to think that the image of a record stuck on a repeating melody is a metaphor for the condition of what we call in Buddhism samsara, that condition of living in that ongoing cycle of suffering that takes place on our mundane life. You know, dukkha means suffering. We generally translate it as suffering. We say all life is dukkha. That's the first noble truth. But one of my teachers famously said, you know, dukkha is the feeling and the sound of when your axle is broken. Your car will still drive. The wagon will still move forward if the axle is broken, but it's going kind of off kilter. And that's what samsara is. And this song lyric saying, "The record player was stuck on a repeating melody," suggests we too can kind of zoom out and see that we get trapped in our cycles of grief. And that suffering comes precisely from our desire for permanence when all life is actually impermanent. However, again, the fact that she's able to identify loneliness is an important revelation that comes from deep self-reflection. And in one moment in the song, she has a line that indeed suggests realization, that realization of comfort amidst the loss. She sings in the next lyric, "If I look back, I see that I could always feel you by my side." And although we may have deep sorrow on the inside for the loss of a loved one, whether they passed away earlier this year or 50 years ago, if we look back, even after their death, they have always been at our side. Perhaps not physically, as our ego mind might want, but through the love that they shared, the lessons that they taught, and the lives that they lived that touched us in ways seen and unseen. And this returns me to the opening reading from Shinran Shonin, who stated in part that we are, quote, "the multitudes of beings who all receive something special. What is that something special? We are always illuminated, to use the words of Shinran-sama. We are always illuminated by pure light, joyful light, the light of wisdom, light that is constant, light that is inconceivable, light that is beyond speaking. Light surpassing the sun and the moon. And this light of wisdom is precisely inconceivable because it is the realm of ultimate truth. It is the realm of infinite life. It is the realm upon which our loved ones have returned to when they may have died from this life. It is the realm of infinite life that shines a path on all of us, whether we know it or not. And by awakening to this truth, we realize that our sadness is neither something to turn away from, nor is it something that always has to define our life. Our life does not have to be one of saying, I'm okay, I'm perfectly fine. I'm okay, I'm okay. You don't have to be like that. But we also don't have to be defined only by that sadness. You know, this teaching of Shinran reminds me of this infographic in the next slide that I once saw recently that summarizes the work of a therapist who suggests that grief doesn't disappear. Right? It's kind of hard to see, but the red represents grief. And sometimes we want to tell ourselves, well, the grief will just disappear over time. People say time heals all wounds. But this therapist says, well, in reality, grief actually stays the same size. Right? It's life that builds around the grief, that envelops the grief. And as Shin Buddhists, as followers of the teachings of Shinran and the Pure Land Masters and the Buddha Shakyamuni, we learn that light of wisdom is the light of all beings and all life. That includes our loved ones. And that life, is what grows around that grief and helps us deal with that grief and helps us process that grief in a way that can actually help us understand our relationship with our loved ones in a more complex way. And so, my new Pasadena pals, as we remember all of those who have passed away in the month of March, but any loved one you might be thinking of right now, all of those loved ones who are now our ancestors, our collective ancestors. Yes, of course, we may yearn for their physical presence, for their physical touch, for the tuna salad sandwiches that they made us, for their gray jacket with the coffee stain on it. Let's aspire and hope and remember that they are still a part of us. More importantly, they are part of a great web of great compassion that will never leave us. So let us remember this once again through the words of Shinran Shonin, who in the next slide reminds us that pure light, joyful light, the light of wisdom, light constant, inconceivable, light beyond speaking, light surpassing sun and moon is sent forth, illuminating countless worlds. The multitudes of beings all receive this radiance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Samanda, Samanda. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Sensei. That was awesome Dharma message this morning. Will the Sangha please rise for closing meditation? My life is fleeting and finite, and I do not know with certitude what tomorrow has in store for me. But in the transitory boundaries of my existence is the timeless flow of Amida's life. In the finite sound of my Nembutsu is Amida's voice of compassion, tirelessly calling me. Like a small stream that enters the mighty current of the great river, so does my insignificant life, in the Nembutsu, join the majestic flow of Amida's infinite life. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Announcements, anybody? I have one or two announcements. If you or anyone you know has been impacted by the fires, Cato, along with Little Tokyo Service Center, ourselves, and the Little Tokyo Community Council are presenting a workshop on this coming Thursday evening from 6 to 9 at PJCI, the Cultural Institute. And it's called Accessing Federal Resources, LA Wildfire Relief. And there's going to be representatives from FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers as well there to answer any questions you might have. I think this will be kind of our third workshop that we've done for fire victims, and they've all been very informative and very helpful. So if you need this information, it's on our website as well, and you can pass this on. There's also this flyer. Also, if you know anybody who has been impacted and is in need of meals, we continue to serve meals every Monday and Friday. It's going to be moving to Thursday, but we'll be doing still on a weekly basis meals to fire victims. We probably serve between 80 and 90 meals each time now. And basically, it's three entities. We're partnering with the Presbyterian Church of Altadena, with the PJCI, and ourselves. So it's three groups all come together, but anybody really who is in need of a meal are welcome. So you just let myself know, or Kyoko, or Ron Toshima, or Jun Chen, and we'll just take your names and your information. We serve them here. You can come for pickup. If you need delivery, we can arrange for that as well.
Good morning. My name is Marvin Inoue, and I'm again the volunteer at JANM, Japanese American National Museum. And even though the main gallery is closed for renovation for the next year and a half till mid-2026, just wanted to let you know there were different functions taking place. Yesterday we saw a function at the Democracy Center regarding Sessua Hayakawa, the Japanese actor that did silent films, and it was just, my wife and I were there, and it was just stunning to see the performance that was silent film, but they also had this gentleman come in and put music to it. There are different functions. They call it JANM on the go because there will be functions at different locations. A week or two ago, there was a function at Nishi Hongwanji, our mother church with this temple, and they had the DOR, Day of Remembrance, and they honored all the women involved in helping the Japanese community. And those things are going on. I just also wanted to remind that there's going to be some pilgrimages coming up. There's the Amachi pilgrimage in southeast Colorado, and that will be in mid-May. And my wife and I and my son are planning to go again to the Heart Mountain pilgrimage in Cody, Wyoming, which is July 26th, 27th, and 28th. And just to let you know, I know a number of people in here have driven by Manzanar on the way up to Mammoth and stuff, and it had been the best restored WRA camp, concentration camp during World War II, but as of last summer, I believe that Heart Mountain, Wyoming has replaced it as the most restored of any of the concentration camps because of Norman Mineta and Alan Simpson's relationship from the Boy Scouts back in 1942. Quite a bit of money has come in, and they built an annex to the center, and it was grand opening last summer. So, and what they're doing, they're inviting teachers from all over the country to find out about how the Japanese were incarcerated during World War II and to try to prevent it from happening in the future. Okay? Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for attending today's service, and I'm really glad you got to hear Reverend DeGuzman. I think if more of you come to more seminars, you get to hear a lot of our new reverends, and I'm really glad that Reverend DeGuzman had the opportunity to come here today. So thank you again. I get to bump into him in a lot of different places. So hopefully we'll see more of you. I'll see you in a couple of hours, too. And so a reminder that BWA membership are $25 to do. And if you're not a member of BWA, you're welcome to join. We are a service organization. Next Sunday, there's a time change, right? So we fall forward? No, we spring forward. Yeah, so we have to get up earlier next week to come to temple. And March 16th is our spring Ohigan service. So that's our next special service coming up. So look forward to having you come. And then again, I'd like to thank everyone for all of your support for our fire victims. And I know we have a lot of wonderful volunteers here that give up their time every week to help with this, the lunches and stuff. So thanks Shelley and thanks June and everybody else, and Kyoko, especially Kyoko.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. I don't know what motivated Jeannie to put together this thing that took place this past week. We got together with a number of Japanese in the community to visit Imperial Valley. And I'm trying to find out as much history about our ancestors in the community. But Imperial Valley, Alan Goto's family had a farm out there. He has relatives that still have a farm out there. And it was very well organized by Jeannie. We stayed overnight and at a casino and stuff. But the one thing that came out of it, like I'm trying to find out as much history about the Japanese community. We're visiting one of the museum that showed all the 15 different immigrant groups that have worked in the Imperial Valley. And as I'm editing the photographs I took in that museum on the bus to the casino and our place where we were staying overnight, I look at one of the panoramic photographs that's this wide on the cantaloupe farmers, and it was taken by my grandfather in 1915, 4 years before my mom was born, and she was the oldest child of the family. And I was just stunned. It made the whole trip fantastic. I just wanted to let you know that those are things that happen and you don't expect it. And then I found out from talking to people that Alan knew from the farming area that the whole Salton Sea used to be part of the Gulf of California that came up. And that's why that area was full of salt. And I know that salt kills off. You can't grow things in salt. Because the Japanese, my son says in Japan, they don't put salt on the road when it's snowing and stuff, because when it melts, the salt goes into the fields and it ruins the growing fields. So I said, how do they change that? And the people that was giving the tour, Tim Ossaman, who gave our tour, was telling how the Japanese and the different farmers grew barley and alfalfa that changed the consistency of the soil. And iceberg lettuce was invented by the Japanese farmers out there. So these are all things that we got to learn from this program that Jeannie put together with BWA and the local community. Thank you very much, Jeannie.
Okay, if there are no more announcements, this will conclude this morning's service. If you've not had a chance to offer incense before service, please come forward and do so before you leave. And thank you again for coming. It was really fun to have you. Thank you.